Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today, we learn about the Iowa Faith and Climate Network, a newly energized campaign to engage the faith community throughout Iowa that provides opportunities to reduce operating costs, improve climate action, and also offer some unique benefits for all Iowans. Let's meet our guests, Rob Hogue, Irene Damaris, and Tim Gossett from the Iowa Faith and Climate Network. I welcome you all. Irene, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Peter. So good to be with you. My name is Irene Damaris. I'm a United Methodist deaconess, and I have the honor of being the executive director of Iowa Faith and Climate Network. I joined the organization in 2020 because the mission has always aligned with what I consider my personal calling, and that is walking with people as they embrace their faith and understand their why and their background, and that leads them and grounds them to seek justice in the world. And that's exactly what we do at Iowa Faith and Climate Network. And that is really exciting. It's energizing. And I just can't believe I landed at an organization that had such wonderful alignment with my personal calling.
Most excellent. Thank you. Tim?
Hi, I'm Tim Gossett. I'm from Ames, and I joined Iowa Faith and Climate as the Associate Director last year in January, so in 2025. So I'm newer here. One of the things I have always loved to be able to do is to create resources for congregations, and that's one of the things that I get to focus on here at Iowa Faith and Climate Network. And it's just exciting to be able to work with congregations and individuals, people of faith of all different types, on helping them to do whatever it is that they're wanting to do in their community or at home, take some new action. And that's the kind of thing that gets me excited, and I love to do that at work. And I'll turn it over to Rob.
Yeah, and Rob, before you start, I'll say, I've seen you in the field, seen some of your work in action, which really impressed me, which is why we're doing this show. And I also recognize that the benefits, even though we talk about being faith-centric and we know the message of stewardship of the earth and things like that, but it impacts the entire community. I mean, these are things that you're working on, and I know what you bring, a little bit of your history to this, that bring communities together on a lot of levels, with faith just being one of the nexus for it, which I found fascinating because it was really wide open in terms of its potential and opportunity. And I know you share that, so let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, well, absolutely, Peter, and it's great to be with you again on this show. So after I joined the board again of the Iowa Faith and Climate Network after I retired from the state senate, and it's really feels like something I'm called to do because people of faith, very diverse faiths, we all have a calling to environmental stewardship and climate action. And so one of the things I've done at my church in Cedar Rapids is we built solar panels in 2024. And we did it in a way so that we could garden between the solar panels. And this summer, I've been spending most of my time planting and weeding and tending and harvesting beans for some of the food pantries in town from our solar enclosure garden, which has been a real neat opportunity. And the other thing I'll say, Peter, is you talk about it's a faith issue. It's also a practical issue. Last month, well, let me do it this way. In July of 2022, our bill for electricity as a church was $1,039. This July, our bill was $143. We saved $896 because of the solar panels we installed. And this is a technology that works. It saves money. It improves the environment. And it's something that faith communities can do, and nonprofits and businesses and individuals can do throughout. And that's just one example of some of the things that we're promoting at the Iowa Faith and Climate Network. And it's really been exciting to be on the board as the chair for the last year or so. And I think we've got a really, really good future ahead of us.
Well, and I echo that because I had attended a public presentation you did in Cedar Rapids, and I was impressed. The room was full. It had people from, it had the sisters from, I forgot if it was the Franciscans or the Benedictines,
Right.
Yeah,
Franciscans.
and then I think the Mennonites were there, and community members were there, elected officials were there. I mean, it was so great to see that. Now, Irene, you take this message around the whole state. I mean, how truly inclusive is in the minute we have left in this segment, you know, what's it like statewide? What are you hearing back from people about this? What's the level of excitement?
People are yearning to make a difference, and people of faith are truly, it's on their hearts and their minds and in their congregations. And regardless of being rural, urban, suburban, congregations are ready for action. They just need the tools and the resources to get them from to start and then moving forward. And so that's the work that really excites me, is that, well, I don't think this like small rural town is ready for climate action. Well, they are. And it's one of the best things to see is those dots being connected, that light behind the eyes of a congregation of any size can make a huge impact. And people are ready. We just need to help them get to the point, and that's the exciting work that we get to do every day, is to help resource these groups.
Yeah, we can see. I mean, obviously, faith is involved with that spiritual return on investment.
Yes.
But now we're talking about not only working within the constructs of some biblical messaging here, they're saving money. And that's a real important thing. I'd like to talk a little bit more about that and how churches get involved. When we come back from our break, stay tuned. We're going to continue our conversation and learn what the Iowa Faith and Climate Network is doing to make Iowa a better place for all Iowans. See you all after the break.
Malware and bots and worms, oh my. The wild, wild web can be a scary and complex place. And as our digital world expands, so too are the threats. Watch out, Trojan horse. That's why at MediaCom, we take security very seriously and monitor our networks around the clock to stop threats before they can affect you. Not today, rude kid. Not all internet is created equal. We build ours to keep you connected and protected.
Did you know that watching MC22 is now easier than ever before? I know, it's crazy, right? Crazy, Well, all MediaCom customers can watch local programming anytime online. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your MediaCom account. Not a MediaCom cable subscriber? That's fine. MediaCom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking with Iowa Faith and Climate Network about the wonderful new programs they're sharing throughout the state of Iowa. We have 3 members of their organization joining us, but Tim is involved with some very unique educational and outreach activities. Tim, why don't you share a little bit about what you're doing out there?
Yeah, one of the new things that we're launching, it's actually going to be starting here just in a couple months, is called our Climate Informed Ministry Cohort. And this is a one-year program for clergy who really want to think about how can they be involved in climate action and education throughout all of their ministries, not just as an add-on to something that they're doing on occasion within their church, but something that really infuses all of the life of their congregation.
Now, what do you do? I mean, what are you looking forward to in terms of this cohort? What kind of action items are you looking to sort of precipitate throughout the state?
Yeah, absolutely. The clergy who will take part, and there'll be about a dozen of them, will meet monthly for a Zoom call with some kind of climate expert. And so we'll have people who are, of course, meteorologists or folks like that. We'll have people who are experts in preaching and teaching within congregations, people who are great at helping clergy to think through the justice issues or the resilience issues. How can a congregation be involved in resilience work within their community? We'll read a number of books together and discuss those. the clergy will have monthly projects that they'll do within their congregation or within their community, things that they're maybe doing already, but they can give them more of a climate spin, if you will. And then they'll also have a final project that they'll do with their whole congregation. That might be something like moving towards putting solar in or heat pumps into their building, or it might be something that's more community oriented, like creating a community farm that a lot of congregations and community members could take part in.
Tim, question for you. Is there still openings for more people from the community watching the show to get in contact with you to join in that cohort?
Well, that's a great question. Yeah, we actually do have a couple more openings yet for this one that we just starting. And then we'll have another cohort that we'll start recruiting for in just a short time. And so that will be the 2025-2026 cohort. So absolutely, or 26-27 cohort rather. And so it's hard to remember some of those years sometimes. And yeah, absolutely. They can get in touch with us on our website and learn all the details there.
Fantastic. Thank you. Irene, Rob, anything you'd like to add to that effort?
Well, I think one of the things that's really exciting, Peter, is that we've specifically been recruiting people outside some of the big metro areas so that we can have a diversity of clergy across the state. We do provide a small stipend, which I think is really important because we're asking people to make a time commitment. And, clergy are busy. I'm active at my church and I see how busy our clergy are because you've got pastoral care requirements. You're helping run the church, and it's good to allow people to give a little bit of time so that they can focus on something that maybe they didn't get in seminary or when they were in training to become a clergy person. So very excited to have this initiative, and it's really something I think can serve the entire state. So if somebody's watching this and you're at a smaller church, you're eligible. You're not excluded if you're not one of a team of 5 pastors at one of the big churches, right? We're trying to make this accessible for everybody.
Right. And the cohorts are interdenominational and interfaith as well. And so absolutely everybody is welcome to apply.
Fantastic. Rob, I want to dip my toe into your prior life as a legislator. What are you feeling? I mean, it's our rural communities are so underserviced. So going in there, we know there's sometimes people just aren't optimistic about change and new things. What are you feeling about, the future and what we need to do, especially with your effort to give more support to these rural communities that are really struggling in these times?
Well, I think, Peter, one of the things you'll find, and maybe Irene can actually talk better about this than I can, is some of the creative leadership that's happening right now in our rural communities. But I would say this too. Look, climate change is a real issue for people, regardless of the size of your community. Last year, I had the chance to visit Spencer after the catastrophic flooding in Spencer, and that's hard for a small community to address. And now you turn right around, and they were just hit by a derecho, where they maybe had another several hundred homes that were badly affected by damage from the winds and from trees that fell on houses. And of course, we lived that in Cedar Rapids in 2020. So look, this is an issue that I think is very much a concern for rural communities. And I would invite Irene to talk about, because she's worked with some of those smaller town congregations.
That's fantastic. We're going to take a short break to continue our conversation. And Irene, we'd love to hear about some of your work in these communities throughout Iowa. See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
Because it's the best. And that's true, because I've thought about that. I mean, definitely the fastest. And the biggest thing I hear most people talk about is the stability of it.
MediaCom's network is very reliable. We have a lot of programs in place that can monitor kind of issues that arise. That way we can fix them before they reach the customer.
Trust the pros. Get extreme internet starting at $9.99 a month for a year.
After the storm stops and the winds settle, we come together to rebuild what matters. MediaCom is right here with you, committed to restoring your service and offering vital communications access. We're here to assist in relief efforts and to support our community in whatever ways we can. Most importantly, helping you stay connected to what matters most: family, friends, safety.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking with Iowa Faith and Climate Network about these unique programs that they're sharing throughout the state of Iowa. To talk a little bit about more what's happening out in rural Iowa, let's hear what Irene has to say.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's exciting. For a few years, we ran a program that specifically targeted rural areas and farmers and ranchers, landowners, and also rural clergy. And so from that program, we really did get the pulse of a rural congregation. Things that, from the local women's group starting to do a rummage sale and secondhand stuff. I mean, that still is, when we talk about consumerism, that's a part of climate action, to the community gardens, to the hundreds of thousands of pounds these local congregations are giving to a small town food bank, to putting solar panels out as a sign of, this is how we're going to move our church forward in a way that's exciting. Rob has talked about the work at his church, and we did some stories about that. And I get this call from a pastor of Fredsville, and Fredsville's now Cedar Falls, but Fredsville is a small town. The ELCA church there, Pastor Reverend Lee Gable, called me and said, let me tell you about what my congregation has done. We're right up on the cornfields, and we talked about this. How do we make our church be stronger, more resilient for the future? And they embrace solar panels. And that has led to different types of action that they have done, from a pollinator garden to other conversations about how to care for creation. You have, I forget the name of the Episcopal Church in Cedar Falls. They have a small grass prairie. And for their Easter vigil, they burn their prairie and they light the Easter candle for Easter with the burned prairie. You have a church in Ottumwa who's, again, putting up solar panels, doing local food bank stuff, feeding people, teaching and using our Bible study. It's pretty remarkable at what a small church can do. And they're always, I could go on forever, Peter, forgive me, and you can't tell me that any climate disaster we've had in this state, where is the local community hub? It's the faith community. It's the rural faith community that is feeding, collecting supplies, having all the church members go to make sure that their community members are taken care of. And so it really just hypes me up.
Good. And, and I want to ask you a question while it's on the tip of my tongue, because I was recently, well, actually as far back as last year, looking at global surveys of youth. And one of the number one issues they talk about as creating anxiety for them is climate change. Mm-hmm. I mean, way ahead of everything else. They're feeling insecure about the future of the earth. And we also know faith communities are looking for new ways to attract youth. Are you seeing some of that happening with projects like this in rural communities in Iowa?
Yeah, people are starting to realize, okay, climate anxiety, eco-anxiety, it can be either term. I don't think we've landed on a term, is something that we're starting to talk about. We have had a presentation on a conference about this. It is a part that is being woven into Tim's programming, and he's done a little bit more research recently than me. But it is something that we're trying to figure out, how do we best provide resources for youth groups and young adults, because this is a huge concern. And a lot of our supporters, are in this work because they're grandparents for future generations. And so it does really weave in that holistic, multi-generational work that we do, because there is so many feelings around this. And we also know that in our rural communities, there's a lack of mental health services in the state of Iowa. So to have someone get help could be up to 3 months, right, to even see someone.
I have grandchildren at 5 and 6 already have a consciousness about global climate change, which I was so foreign to me until I was a college student, and we're going back a ways. But I want to steer this in another direction where I think there's a lot of excitement. I want to come to this, the king of the bean crop here in Cedar Rapids. I want to hear Rob talk about some of the exciting secondary benefits of this gardening and stuff, and how the solar panels and stuff worked into that.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting. So when we were developing our project for solar power, it became clear to us that we were going to have to put it on our ground, not on the roof. And that is a perfectly good option, but the place we had was where we had been gardening. And so we had this debate as a church about it. And finally, we came up with this idea, well, let's just do both, right? Let's build the solar panels and garden between the solar panels. And this year we've been hitting it big with beans and supplying food pantries. We've got 3 different food pantries that we supply directly for at churches. And plus we work with a nonprofit organization called Feed Iowa First, where we deliver it. And you talk about young people. One of the antidotes that we talk about to the eco-anxiety is action. And where you see a lot of young people taking action is in the idea of local foods and food justice and food accessibility. And so all these young people are working down at Feed Iowa First, and we're working with them. And it's a great partnership. And it's been very, very exciting to see just these pounds and pounds and pounds of beans coming from our solar garden.
Yeah, and I'm sure that India will put some of the pictures you sent on there so people will get to see some of that. All right, well, when we return from a short break, we're going to ask our friends to share some ideas, advice, and inspiration for all of us when it comes to looking at being faith-based as well as having concerns for our environment. See you all after the break.
If, like most people, you love your phone, like can't eat, can't sleep, can't not have it by your side,
my phone,
or you'll be totally lost, kind of love, but you don't love your big cell phone bill or spotty reception, check out Mediacom Mobile. Unbeatable nationwide coverage on a reliable 5G mobile network. Plus, we've got some really incredible prices, too. Keep the phone you love, but love it even more. Mediacom Mobile.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Did you know that watching MC22 is now easier than ever before? I know, it's crazy, right? Crazy. Well, all Mediacom customers can watch local programming anytime online. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your Mediacom account. Not a Mediacom cable subscriber? That's fine. Mediacom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22. Online at mc22.net/watch.
Welcome back. Today we gained a look at Iowa Faith and Climate Network and some of the great work they're doing. Let's hear what inspiration and information they can share with us in closing, starting with Irene.
Yeah, so inspiration to share is really showcasing what congregations are doing and can do. It's sometimes hard to figure out where you're going. You know, you want to take action, but we need inspiration and stories to ground us. And so we're really excited because right now we're putting together an eco projects map, and it's going to be a clickable map where congregations get to submit what kind of eco projects they've done. And so the goal of the map would be you could look at, let's say Cedar Falls, Waterloo area and say, I'm a congregation, I'm interested in doing something. Oh, it looks like this congregation started a green team. I can directly contact them. And so showing the breadth of climate advocacy in our congregation. So that is something we're collecting forms for, and we hope to roll out at the end of the year. And we're just so excited because it allows us to be a network. And, it doesn't always have to be me telling who has solar, who has a green team, who has geothermal heat pumps, right? Our congregations get to talk together. And that's really what is exciting in the work, and just one of the things that we have in the pipeline coming up in the next few months.
Fantastic. Tim?
Yeah, I think one of the things we've talked a little bit about is how our hope is to be able to provide lots of different kinds of resources for congregations. The cohort being one of those, the EcoMap being one of those, the Bible study that Irene mentioned earlier is another one of those resources, a 6-week study on the parables and how they connect with climate change that any congregation can do, downloadable, easily printable. So it's just made for small congregations or large congregations. Anybody can use that. Another one that I love to talk about is what's called What's Your Climate Story? And this is just a simple little tool that a congregation can use to teach people to tell climate stories. A way of talking about, the memories that you have of your youth, maybe, the kinds of things that you've seen change over the years, the way that that connects to your faith and the action that you're doing in the now or in the future, and an invitation to other people to tell their own stories. It's just a simple little framework that a congregation could use in lots of different settings. And so the resourcing that we do is designed to be things that are made for just anybody to take and apply them in lots of different settings. And we just encourage people to come to the website, Iowa Faith and Climate Network.org, and check them out.
And Rob?
Yeah, well, thank you, Peter, for having us on the show today. This has been a great discussion. And I just, first of all, people should go to the website. IowaFaithandClimate.org is the website. There are a lot of resources there. But challenge yourself to think about what can we do to address climate change as people of faith, as a congregation, as a community. There's a lot of education to be done. I know my church had an education series on climate change. A lot of us do disaster relief. I remember when Jewish and Baptist disaster relief were side by side in Colfax after the flood in 2010. Right, this is something that really unites us. And then the projects that Irene has talked about, and like we did at our church, there are ways that we can advance climate action and environmental stewardship. And this is something for everybody to do. So thank you, Peter, for having us on the show today.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you all for watching. And stay tuned to MediaCom MC22 and MC22.net for all our episodes of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. I'm MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.